All right, I think we're at episode 20, and this is the final one for my how did I become less of a terrible leader? And this is one of my favorites, actually. It's about developing your team. Um, the first thing I learned to do was identify correctly who to put that effort into. Um, I'm going to share some stories of my own journey of what I learned not to do because I made a lot of mistakes on this. So the first thing I learned to do was um, identify which talents are relevant. I made a lot of mistakes where I would come into a team, they were kind of directionless, they needed a leader, and I worked with that team and I identified some individuals that were lovely human beings, had amazing work ethics, always went above and beyond, had great attitudes, can do kind of attitude. Nothing was ever a problem. And I thought, this is a person I should put in a leadership role. And at the beginning, it sounds like a good idea. What I didn't know is they had a terrible communication style. They micromanaged. Uh, they didn't know how to take feedback of their leadership ability, maybe because they were sensitive about it, because they subconsciously knew that was a weakness. And in the end, it just blew up in everyone's face, and that was on me because I made that decision to put them in that. So identify which talents you need. I should have identified, okay, I need someone, yes, it's good work ethic, oh, it's good. I need someone who's able to delegate. I need someone who's also able to trust their team to do the job, who's able to coach, to teach new skills, and then stand back and watch them and then give guidance and just let them slowly let go until the person's able to do it themselves. I didn't. I just said, like, you're a great worker, you're doing a good job, you've got a can-do attitude, I'm going to promote you. Big mistake, big mistake. So I'll go more into this, but identify the skills first before you start developing people. Know what skills they need before the development skills start. And another reason why that's important is you want to set them up for success. Like, if you know which skills they're going to need and you see they don't have them yet, then you know where to put your energy into making sure they have those skills, so when they step into the role, they're more likely to be successful. And you need to challenge your team. And that means sometimes, a lot of the time, stepping back. Give your team a goal, and I know you want them to succeed and you're tempted to jump in there and help them do it. But like, think of it like being a parent. You've just got to let your kids, try, and they're gonna fall off the monkey bars. If you just constantly hold them up, they never develop the strength to hold onto the bars. You're gonna have to let them fall sometimes. You don't have to go straight to falling, but like, it's obviously a process, but you're gonna have to challenge them where the potential to fall is there, and sometimes they will, but as long as they grow, everyone is winning from this. That's something I had to learn because I wasn't good at that. I would challenge them, and then when they were failing, I jumped in, saved them. They didn't learn anything from that, except we don't need to succeed, because if we start failing, we're going to be rescued. That's not a good precedent. They've got to be able to stand on their own feet, because eventually you're going to be gone. Whether you resign or you take another position or you're promoted, you're going to not be there. So what happens then? So it's actually an act of kindness. Let them take the weight. Let them develop. So you've got to challenge them, and step back. The old saying that great sailors are not made in calm waters. It's got to be a challenge. There's got to be some element of a challenge and an element of danger, and something could go wrong. This is going to promote them and motivate them to go to that level, because they're obviously going to have to do something. In order to do something you've never done, you need to become someone you've never been. So you're giving them the opportunity to grow in that area. So you make a vacuum, you step back, which creates a vacuum, then they fill that vacuum, they grow in order to fill that space so they can do it themselves. Another thing I learned was, when you're challenging people, take them out of their comfort zone, but never out of their talent zone. And see, that was the mistake I made with the first example, is this guy didn't have that communication talent or skill, and he didn't have that leadership ability. He was a great worker, but he didn't have those talents. And I didn't take him out of his comfort zone. I did it to some degree, but I took him completely out of his talent zone. He didn't have any ability to do that. And then he ended up failing, and then it diminished his capacity, and then he actually blamed me for putting him in that position, even though he said he wanted it. He ended up blaming me for being a failure. in that, and it was just a real steep learning curve for me of how to do it. So if you first of all identify the talent that is needed for the position, and then make sure you identify people who have the talent. They may not have the skill yet, but they need at least the talent to develop the skill, and that's on you as a leader to identify that talent. I'll give you an example of how this can unfold really badly. Imagine you've got a warehouse, right? And this is where if you don't do this correctly, it can really backfire. You've got a warehouse and it's full of forklift operators. And eventually the position comes up for, the supervisor of the warehouse. And so what do most people do? And I made the mistake myself. I promote the best forklift operator. Okay, you're the best worker, best record, etc., greatest work ethic, everyone loves you. I'm going to make you the supervisor. They have no talent for organizing rosters. Also, they have no conflict resolution ability. They just tell people to shut up and get on with it, because that's how they do their job, because they do their job because they shut up and get on with it. So if I'm giving myself that advice, I can give other people that advice. They work through injury and they work through sickness. So as soon as someone's injured or sick, they're like, just work through it. No compassion, because that's how they got to be the best operator, because they just go, 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 no matter what. Good for a worker, maybe not so good as a leader, because it comes across as having no compassion, no sympathy. So we promote that person. They'd have no leadership capability. They have no communication capability. People start resenting them. They start having a bit of back and forth within their team. There's a bit of a civil war going on. And then it becomes supervisor versus forklift operators. And now there's conflict, a proper war between them. Now, the first thing that's happened when you promote your best forklift operator into supervisor, let's just be honest, the first thing you've done is you've lost your best forklift operator. Because if he's supervising the entire warehouse, he's probably not on the lift very much. So that's the first thing you've done. You've lost your best operator. And then you've put the person in a position where they're basically set up to fail, because you as a leader, or me as a leader, I have not identified the skills they really need in order to do that job the best. Now they'll be in that position. Eventually they'll fail and they'll step down, or they'll be removed from it. Either way, they'll either leave the company, which means you've now lost your best forklift operator forever, or they'll step back into being a forklift operator. But now they feel humiliated, and they'll probably be resentful for the experience. So because I've mismanaged that situation, I have taken my best forklift operator and either lost them out of the company and put my team through months of grief, or they've stepped back down and now I've got a poison pill in my team who now never operates as well as they used to, is resentful towards me and the group, because remember, they were picking on that person, so now he's resentful towards them, resentful towards me, and probably the company. Their productivity, is going to go down. They probably won't train because they're the best forklift operator. They're probably the people who train the most. So they're probably not even going to train very well. They've become a bad example, and we've got a poison pill, and we know that attitudes are contagious, who now when people come in the company, instead of being positive, they're just this place is fucked kind of attitude. And then that attitudes are contagious, and other people start speaking like that. And it becomes a terrible story. All of that could have been avoided if I had have just identified which talents were really needed to step in the role and pick the person who was most suitable based on potential and skill. And I failed to do that. So that's what I learned from the experience. Now, another thing is, once you've picked someone, in order to develop a team, develop someone, it's important that everyone gets behind them. It's very important. You can't put someone in that position and then there's dissent amongst the group. That person shouldn't be there, which is why it really should be merit-based. The person who has the most potential and has earned the right to be there. I've learned, if wherever possible, promote from within. Sometimes you do need to bring people from outside, but try to promote from within. It's a great moral boost, building exercise. If the team sees there's someone who's been trying really hard and has been working on themselves and working on their leadership potential for years, and then you just bring someone in from the outside, it just tells everyone there's no point trying, because ultimately you're never going to be given an opportunity. So if you can, try to. And that's why succession planning is a big part of being a leader. And you don't do that at the time. You got to be doing that when everything's good, training people up, so when the opportunity comes, you're ready for it. Another thing to remember to ask yourself and ask your team members when promotion and development opportunities come is, if this was my business, what kind of leader, what kind of staff would I want? And then you got to be honest. Like, be honest with yourself. What kind of leader would I want? What kind of team members would I want? Am I that? I remember a situation where a staff member came up to me once, and she said there was an opportunity for a new supervisor, and I was the head chef of the kitchen at the time, and she said, "Oh, there's a position coming up. Could I be considered?" And I said, "Well, you could be considered." She said, "Well, if you gave it to me, then I would show you, like, I would be the best I've ever been in that role." And I actually had to stop her there and say, that's like sitting in front of a fire and say, first give me heat and then I'll put the wood in. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, in life, you have to give in order to build something, to have it in order to get the reward back. So it's important that the staff who have been putting in the hard work, they get the recognition, and don't ever give someone an opportunity if they say, yes, I've been doing a very average job, but if you give it to me, then I'll do a good job. In my experience, that doesn't work. So again, this is the last one for how I developed as a leader, and I'm only giving you only the things that made the biggest difference in my development, things I'm still working on. So that's the best of what I've got, and that's all I have to say. So again, go get it.